Okay, so I'm actually back. What happened is the Vivo camera. I have it's a big battery cylinder that goes for it. It's like $250 for it. I jacked it up at the draft. Unfortunately, I tripped on a cord and it yanked it and messed up the charge on it. The camera itself, which is only about this big, kind of like about that much of a Coke can, has about a 30-minute battery life into it. So I've ordered another battery to go with it, and hopefully I'll get that well before we go to training camp because that's a 10-hour battery. So this is just kind of a test. Like I said, this is me trying to see how well it's going to work with. I'm actually in my basement on the second Wi-Fi signal in here and trying to see how well it is. You know, Stephen Willie Beeman, you know, it's amazing how much talking you've done since your team has won the Super Bowl because you certainly weren't around last year. I'm just wondering if your team goes south, which I think may happen, if you're going to be in here as hard as you are right now talking about your team because I truly believe that your team is going to have a very hard way to go this year. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be honest with you because actually, let me. I, I was going to save this for later, but here's the thing that you got to start thinking about. Um, you're going to have a much tougher schedule this year. Half the teams you played last year were dog doo, including my Cowboys weren't exactly playing that great. I think the Cowboys are going to be a tougher play this year. But when you think about playing the Giants twice, the Giants were crap last year. Giants were one of the worst teams in the NFL. And you start adding in your schedule of teams that you got to play this year, your schedule is going to be kind of rough. You start out with the Falcons, and then you got the Buccaneers. Okay, actually, it's not that bad to start out early. Okay, I've got the wrong schedule here. Actually, I was trying to look at last year's. But your schedule gets to be a lot tougher than it was last year because last year you had like the 49ers, you had the Bears in there. You had a lot of cake games that you're not going to have quite as many. I think you have only 6 teams with a losing record on the schedule this year. Last year you had 8 that had a 500 or below record. So it's going to get a little bit tougher than what it was last year. Let's pull it on up. Let's see. Let's look at your Eagles because you guys are constantly talking about my Cowboys. All right, so that's God. Why are you giving me the wrong season? Sorry, guys. This is actually really slow right now. Trying to pull it on up. Anyway, hit 18 season, it's giving me 18. I give it 17, it's giving me 16 season. You think Willie's going to disappear on us? I don't think we'd be that lucky. All right, here we go. All right, so when we look at, I don't know why I kept pulling up 18 schedule and 16 schedule. So let's think about this. You guys beat the Redskins opening season, okay? Who doesn't beat the Redskins? We beat them the last 4 times in a row. You lost to Kansas City, and that's when Kansas City was good. I get that. It was a close game. You barely beat the Giants, 27-24. In fact, the Giants had their 2 highest scoring games of the season against you Eagles. You barely beat the Chargers, and the Chargers beat us, so I'm not going to say the Chargers were bad, but it was 26-24. You destroyed the Cardinals, but the Cardinals sucked, and they didn't have a quarterback. You beat the Panthers, just barely beat the Panthers, 28-23. You beat the Redskins, let them score 24. You beat the 49ers. You beat the Broncos. You beat us. You kicked our ass. I'll admit it. You kicked the shit out of our ass. That shit hurt. You beat the Bears. You lost to the Seahawks. Seahawks blew your ass out 24-10. You had a shootout against the Rams. You beat the Giants, and you beat the Raiders. So as you start looking at that schedule, I'm not saying that you guys didn't do a lot, because you did, because it doesn't, you need more than just a cake schedule. You still have to take care of business, and you guys took care of business, and you played well in the playoffs. I'm not taking that away from you Eagles. However, when you look at that schedule, I'm sorry, that schedule was not that tough. The worst games you had on there, the Cowboys, I'm going to say us because we had a winning record. I'm going to say the Rams was, of course, a tough game. You ended up having a shootout, 43. You let them score 35 on you. You lost to the Seahawks. You beat the Panthers. And you had the Chargers. Other than that, there's nobody on that schedule that was that tough. Now, when we start looking at the 2018 season schedule, you're going to have a much tougher schedule than you did last year. So thinking that you guys are going to automatically be that great, no, you're going to be coming back down to work. You will not have a 13-3 season next year. I can guarantee that one. Let me pull that up real quick. And I know you Eagle fans are going to say, yeah, I'm stupid. We're going to be, 14-2. We're going to be even better. Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. But you open up, and here, this is where it's going to be interesting. You open up against the Falcons, and you got the Buccaneers, which will be an easy one. The Colts will be a little tougher with Andrew Luck. Titans are so-so. But then you got the Vikings. The Giants should be a little bit better. Then you got the Panthers. Then you got the Jaguars. Then you have us. And then the Saints. That's going to be a tough stretch right there. You're going to go from the Vikings at New York, which is always, a division game, which is always a cat fight. And again, it was close games with the Giants last year. Then you got to play the Panthers, the Jaguars, us, and then the Saints. That is a pretty rough stretch right there. And then after that, you got the Giants, Redskins, Cowboys, Rams, and Texans. That's no cakewalk, to say the least. So good luck to you. We'll see what we're going to see. But things are going to be a little more difficult because also now, people, thank you very much, Anthony, for the super chat. People are going to be coming after you that last year didn't even know you guys existed. So that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to repeat. So I guess you guys are trying to get your licks in now. But it's going to be interesting. And I don't think it's going to be as easy as you guys think it's going to be. Matt, I am just trying out, doing kind of a test, getting ready for Oxnard. I'm using actually a different camera, which is my Mevo, and using a wireless microphone to see how well this sets up, because I actually have two of these wireless microphones, and when I have a special guest and stuff, we can be at a bar or on the site or whatever, so we have the microphones. So this is just a test to see how well this is going to work and stuff, and just need your guys' feedback on if it's a winner or not. So if this does work, and if we do get a good enough cell signal, I'm actually going to live stream practice, so you guys can actually watch some of the practice going on, which I think will be fun.
All right, so let's head to that location right now.
Well, see, Lord Beeman, it seems like every Eagle fan or a majority of the Eagle fans I talk to, think that the Eagles are going to be great every year for the next 10 years. It's going to be tough. I mean, to win a Super Bowl, and like I said, hats off to you. I'm giving you guys credit because you did it. I know my team hasn't done it in a long time. But it takes more than just being a good team and having good players. You got to have some luck. You got to get some calls that go your way. You have to be fortunate when it comes to injuries, because you can have one injury that can change the course of the season. We had so many things last year. I'm not trying to make excuses. To be honest with you, I didn't think we were going to get to 9-7. Part of the reason why people say that I'm a bandwagon fan or I'm not a true fan, because when we got to that stretch where we couldn't block anybody, when Claiborne was literally getting 6 sacks and they were not able to move the ball, Dak Prescott couldn't get the end zone, I was at the point of saying then, Maybe it would be better if this team continued that downward slide, just because when you're mediocre, it's hard to get out of being mediocre. It's like basketball. You got to be really, really bad to get those high draft picks to change the narrative. We'd have to be so bad in order to get rid of Jason Garrett. So at that point, it was like, do I want a moral victory in the season where we have a winning record but don't make the playoffs and don't make a run for the Super Bowl, but we're still stuck in the same spot? Or is it better for our team to lose and get rid of Jason Garrett, get high draft picks, and start the whole thing over? But when you're good, it's hard to stay there because the schedule gets harder. People want what you have. People then make sure they give you your toughest game because they want to beat the Super Bowl champions, because they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but if they can say, hey, we beat you, at least it gives us some bragging rights. So now everybody's going to be coming after you. The secret is out. And if you guys can repeat, hey, I will give you guys all credit. But you are fighting against the curve. Well, it's interesting because there's, of course, a lot of speculation that Jason Garrett's on the hot seat. Jason Garrett is, I think, 9th on the list for odds of being fired during the season. And you're seeing more and more articles that are saying that the Cowboys are kind of distancing themselves from Jason Garrett. I kind of said from the time we saw All or Nothing, you could see where the Cowboys are kind of setting the narrative that it is Jason Garrett, that he's the coach. And I believe that they are. You don't see Jerry Jones out here on a day-to-day basis, and we'll see what happens this week when camp happens, if Jerry Jones is running the press conference again like he's the coach, or if it's Jason Garrett. Because I think that sink or swim, it's going to be all on Jason Garrett this season. And if it doesn't perform, because this is the contract year, he's got this year and next year left on the contract, but you don't go into a season with a head coach on the last year of his contract. So you have to either get rid of him or you've got to renew him. So looking at it from that standpoint, I think it's going to be okay. It's Jason Garrett's show to sink or swim. Now, I think he's got a better cast of characters as far as coaches that are underneath him. I think Chris Richard is going to make a difference on the defense. And honestly, to go from where they were last year with everything going wrong, they don't need that many things, in my mind, to end up being better next year. To me, I look at the team and I say they underachieved. You look at a team like the Rams, I'm sorry, they can hate me and all that, but I look at the Rams and say that they played above and beyond what was expected of them, and I think they played close to their potential. I say the same thing about the Eagles. They were fortunate that they were able to abstain injuries and things like that. They were able to be unpredictable because it was such a new, young team. You really didn't know that much about Carson Wentz, and once they got a running game and the offensive line blocking, that they caught the league by storm. So that narrative is now kind of gone. You kind of know what they're going to do a little bit more. Defensive coordinators are studying and figuring out ways to stop you. Cowboys-wise, we dropped a yard per carry on Zeke Elliott. We lost him for 6 games. If that narrative doesn't happen, you're going to be better just from that standpoint. If you have Tyron Smith staying healthy, he's one of the best tackles in football, that's going to make you better. The question will be is, what do these wide receivers do? And personally, I think speed kills. I think having more speed is going to make a difference as opposed to Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant never got separation anymore, not since he hurt that leg. I think they're going to actually be better off without Dez Bryant. We'll have to wait and see how that works out, but I think that that's going to be the case. And I think our defense is going to be better. Vosh, what's happening? Walks in with 2 strange women and a bottle of cran apple juice. What's going on? It's called coaching, Mark. Yeah, I know it's called coaching. Yes, coaching does help. But again, even with the lame coaches we had last year, that didn't change anything. And with all the problems we had, really weren't that far away. It's not like we were the Cleveland Browns and we were 0-16. So, and that's fine. And I tell you what, that's fine if people don't believe in the Cowboys. I hope they don't. I hope the team comes in there, puts a chip on their shoulder, and shocks the world. Again, am I a homer? Of course I'm a homer. I love my Cowboys. I'm going to talk good about them um, because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I'm going to believe in them. Yeah, well, you did have you did have losses, but fortunately, unlike my Cowboys, you actually had depth and you had a great running attack, which helped out a lot. If you didn't have that running attack, I'm not sure the Carson Wentz would have been quite as effective. I agree. You guys lost your starting linebacker, you lost running backs, but you went out and you got a Jay Ajayi. You had a Nick Foles to back him up. So it wasn't like you went from Tyron Smith to Chaz Green like we did. There's a little difference right there. And then we had officials that went against us. You're going to tell me that honestly, 8 games in a row that nobody held against our defense that was playing lights out on the line? Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's get real here. Say, man, let me make sure I let that comment come through because it got stopped on you. It's amazing. Like I said, I don't care what an Eagle fan has to say about the Cowboys or a Giant fan. I don't sit there and watch all their shows and tell them how stupid they are. If they want to say what they want to say about the team, that's great. But to have all these guys, it just amazes me how much venom they have. Samuel Beeman probably will have more comments on here tonight than anyone else on the Dallas Cowboys. He must not watch any Eagle sites at all because he's always on here. Bobby Belt says he'll bet his life on Earl being on the uniform in week 1. You know, Cam, I still believe that too. I know people are kind of sick of the whole topic, but again, I still believe that Seattle looks at it. We'd rather get something for him now because we're still really rebuilding than to have him come through and be disgruntled all season and a distraction and get nothing and have to pay him $8.5 million. To me, that makes no sense. No, you don't. Honestly, what, Steaming Willie Beeman? All these guys are closet Cowboy fans. You would think that maybe they are. Nobody gives a crap about the Eagles. Oh, man. You know, and they won the Super Bowl. You may have something there. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you have this obsession, Stephen Willie Beeman, about Dak Prescott being bad. JR214, I would love to know why myself, while the Eagle fans are here. I guess that finally, having been bad for so long, that they finally won that Super Bowl, that they have to go ahead and tell everybody. That's right, JR. They won the Super Bowl and they're still worried about the Cowboys. You hit the nail on the head. Well, here's the thing, Sam, man. I'm not going to do what I did while we were doing the live stream. I tried to literally take everything. I tried to take my mixer and all that, but I won't have to. How you doing, Jackie? Miss Jackie's in here, everybody. So don't act up. Please don't act up. All I'm actually going to be taking is my wireless microphones, because I've got 2 of those, the Mevo camera, and my cell phone. So all I have to do is have a cell signal, and I can do exactly what I'm doing right now, with the exception of having my laptop. But I can actually see the comments actually on my cell phone here. So this actually will control everything. So I'm not hooked up to the Ethernet or anything like that. This is just cell signal in my basement right here that I'm using, along with the wireless microphone. So this will be the setup that I'm using. So this is exactly what we're going to be doing. So hopefully, as long as we have a cell signal, this is what we're going to get. And the cool thing about this camera is, like I was saying to you guys, I can take it and I can move it around. I can zoom in. I can do wide shots. Um, we can end up doing, like I can put the whole field out there so we can look at it. And right now we're actually in low light here, so it's actually not that great of a picture with the low light. But outside, it's 4K technology, so it should be good to go. That was a learning lesson, I'm going to be honest with you, Sandman, on what we tried to do on the road trip. We literally drove 24 hours and got to Mike Fisher's restaurant and tried to unload all the equipment, throw it together, and boom, tried to live stream, and it just was just too much to try and do. So that's why I'm testing this stuff out now, where we're going to streamline it and keep it simple. And hopefully we'll be in great shape with it. I think we will, because I have done this before. In fact, I did it, it worked actually real well, believe it or not, at FedEx Field when we were doing some live streaming and stuff out there. Texas Stadium, not so much, because you don't get any self-service at AT&T. So we'll see how it is in Oxnard. But Dak is regressing. Okay, Dak had a bad stretch. I'm not ready to say that he regressed. I'm going to say he played poorly second half of the season. He went in a slump. I'm going to also say his hand was hurt. I'm also going to say we didn't have Zeke Elliott, our franchise running back, in our running game. I will also say you didn't have Tyron Smith. I will also say you didn't have Sean Lee. Anytime that you're at home and you score 30 points back to back and you lose both games, you do realize that nobody has ever had that happen before, the Dallas Cowboys. Let me say that again. You're at home and you score 30 points and lose 2 weeks in a row. Is that Dak's fault? Is that Dak's fault? And when you get sacked 9 times in a game, I dare you to find me a quarterback who got sacked 9 times in a game and won. I challenge you. But it's all good. I'm with you, Last Jedi. Dak will bounce back. We'll be fine. With the offensive line in shape, with the Zeke Elliott back, and everybody keeps saying, well, he can't win without a running game. Well, quite frankly, I'm not sure Roger Staubach would have won them without Tony Dorsett. I'm not sure Troy Aikman would have won them without Emmitt Smith. That's Dallas Cowboy football. Great running attack, lights out defense, and a quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Can I Skype with the road equipment? I would have to have actually a Wi-Fi to be able to Skype, or I need another cell phone. Because right now, the cell phone is what's actually sending out all the signals from the camera that's over there. So in order to Skype it in, I would have to have, no, I wouldn't be able to do it with this setup. Steve and Willie Beeman, do you know where your offensive running attack ended up last year? Do you know where it ended up? It wasn't like it was 32nd. You know that, right? That you had a great running attack which helped out your quarterback. Your team wasn't one-dimensional. You understand that, right? And here's the funny thing too, because a lot of people will say that it's only the running back. Take a look at Barry Sanders, who you could argue and say was better than Emmitt Smith. Incredible numbers. They weren't making playoffs. Take a look at Adrian Peterson, incredible running back. They weren't making playoffs and going to Super Bowls. You can look at, God, look at it. O.J. Simpson with Buffalo, Eric Dickerson. None of these great running backs that you've seen that you say is a generational. You say that Zeke Elliott is generational running back. They never had the success that the Cowboys had in 2016, and I dare say sometimes not even the success that they had in 2017. most of the time, the quarterbacks that he had were absolutely, positively, completely dog do. So don't give me this stuff that, well, you got a great running back and that's the only reason why Dak Prescott. Enough of that. 2015, we had a great offensive line that was blocking lights out. You had the fourth best rushing attack, but yet we only had, I think, I want to say 16 touchdown passes on the season between 4 different quarterbacks. Clearly, it's more than just the running back. It's a team effort. Lord, what is with you, dude? How many different profiles do you have, Jackson? Eagle fans are so insecure. I have to agree with you on that one. There you go, Jordan. Green Bay's had 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game for 26 years straight and only 2 Super Bowls. That's I hadn't thought about that, but that's very, very true. Right, James, completely. It is funny that everybody says it's because of Dak Prescott. If we could have had a couple of stops against the Rams or a stop against Green Bay, we would have won both of those games. And then the season looks totally different. Oh, I know. There's a lot of people on the Mike White train right now. We'll definitely be watching everybody at training camp.
Mike White might even make the team.
I believe it. You got people that are already saying he should be starting. That's the funny thing.
Are you serious? Cooper Rush has more experience than Mike White does.
Hold it, Stephen Willie Beeman. Is what's his name back in here? What was this guy's name? That
Trey.
Was it Trey?
Wait, Trey's back?
I think Stephen Willie Beeman just said that Vosh called him out. I thought I saw it over here.
Wait, Trey's back?
I didn't see him.
Miss Trey.
Is Trey the missing in action one back? Because Lord knows, after Vosh called his ass out, he wouldn't call in. I hadn't seen him.
I've been calling him out on my live stream.
You know, I got to tell you, some of these YouTube bullies, man, it's crazy.
Oh, no, thank you. Like, come on, get that trigger.
There you go, Willie. No bandwagon. I've been watching my team since the 60s. That you and me are in the same boat.
I wasn't a fan of Tony Romo.
Vosh says Mike White is better than Cooper Rush. Okay.
That might be true, but he hasn't had it down in the NFL. Mike White will probably make the practice squad.
Willie commenting, watching all the time. I'm telling you, like Vosh said, I don't know other than EDP. What channels are out there? There's this one Eagle chick. She's actually hot. That's out in L.A. That talks trash from time to time, but that's about the only one. That and EDP. Who else do you know that's an Eagle? I don't even know any. Redskin ones?
No, the Redskins.
The Giant. Oh man, there's that country guy who that's down here around Richmond who's called me out a couple of times.
Now go to the Redskins YouTube page. They only have like 1,000, like almost 2,000 subscribers.
Their official?
Yeah, the official one, almost 2,000 subscribers.
Really,
I'm like,
Redskins?
Yeah. Well,
the official Redskins YouTube channel only has like a couple thousand subscribers?
Like
damn.
The New York Giants is the third place.
Damn.
And the Eagles have the most because they won the Super Bowl.
Anthony, I am with you 100% on that one, that I have not visited any Eagle sites or forums.
Other than EDP, I don't watch nothing Eagles.
I'm with you, Anthony. I watched Roger Staubach back in the day on black and white TV as well, man. I remember, my God, do you remember when, in that first Super Bowl year, when they weren't sure if it should be Roger Staubach or Craig Morton, and they alternated them.
Oh, yeah,
this was crazy.
I saw it on that network.
The alternated series. Tom Landry wasn't sure because you had Craig Morton, who took the team to the Super Bowl the year before, the veteran and everything else, the guy who's been there. Then you had a young Roger Staubach who was unconventional, who liked to scramble and run around and stuff. And Tom Landry was literally crazy about discipline, about doing it exactly the way it was designed. And so everybody knew Roger Staubach was the better athlete, the better quarterback, but he just didn't want to give up on Craig Morton. So literally in one game, they alternated series. They were just like, okay, I got these plays, boom, okay, 3 and out. Next series, Roger Staubach. It was the craziest thing that you've ever seen. It didn't work, and then Craig Morton was shipped out. So, yeah, I remember games like that. EDP is who? EDP is, Eagle fans will say that he's not really a real Eagles fan. He is a real big brother.
He's like the Rams, I think.
Oh, God. Look, what is...
EDP was not.
Fred,
I think he's like the Rams or the Cardinals.
What is this obsession you have with all of these gay comments? Dude, I'm sorry, forgive me, people, but there's a guy or girl, or maybe it's just a kid, who literally keeps making profile after profile talking about my booty hole, okay? Literally. I bet that booty hole is this. That booty hole. I mean, it's just like, dude, really? I mean, he's on here as much as Stephen Willie Beeman.
This Stephen Willie Beeman has it.
Well, but see, Willie, here's the thing, though. As rigid as Tom Landry was, Tony Dorsett changed him. Because Tom Landry would design a play, and the play is supposed to go just like this. And he drove Tom Landry crazy because Tom Landry would drive it to go, outside the tackle. Tony Dorsett would see that, and he would go back and say, I see daylight over here, and he would cut it back, on the other side of the center. And the coach would say, Tom Landry would say, what are you doing? This is what I designed. He said, Coach, I run to where I see daylight. So Tom Landry eventually said, okay, Tony's a little bit different. You just kind of hold your blocks, and he'll pick out where to go, basically. And the rest is history. But Tom Landry realized, okay, I do have to change and evolve. And unfortunately, though, that's what ended up killing him because he was such an innovator. He came out with the shotgun. He ended up having the shift. We used to do that in my high school, and that was incredible because we would actually shift a little, 6 inches to the left or 6 inches to the right, or take a step back. So that way we were actually hopefully disguising what we were doing. We knew that we were overshifting to the left, but we're all lining up the same position to start with. And the flex defense, having the defensive tackle back off of the line of scrimmage more so you can see more of what's going on. But unfortunately, through the 80s, he still relied on that same stuff. He didn't come up with the innovations that he had before, and he stayed rigid, where he was still the offensive and defensive coordinator. And you started to see the NFL specialize, and he became the dinosaur, and that, unfortunately, is what it is. I'm hoping, and actually been on here longer than I intended to tonight. I was just trying to do a sound test to see how this was. I'm hoping that this season, that this is Jason Garrett's swan song, and he's going to finally get it and get successful. But they realize that you can't keep everything exactly the same. You have to cater to the talent that you have. You may have a system that goes like this, but if you don't have the players to go with that system the way it's supposed to be, you have to use the talents with the people that you have around you. You look at some of the coaches like a Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs came from San Diego Chargers, which was Air Coryell. They didn't run the ball almost at all. It was, the first tight end, Kevin Winslow Sr., that was a weapon. You had Charlie Joyner. You had we were just throwing the ball deep all the time. And he came to Washington, and he didn't have those kinds of receivers. He did have a John Riggins, a ground and pound running back. And so what he did was he designed the one-back offense and ended up basically counter-traying everybody in the NFL into submission. So you have to evolve your team with the players that you have with you. And I think part of the problem they had with Dak Prescott was they were still trying to play him like he was Tony Romo. Thank you very much for the super chat there. Vi52 ain't Bowley G. That's a mouthful. And Dak is a quarterback that's going to pass the ball around and find the open guy. That's his thing. His thing is, I do not want to turn over the ball. And that means whoever is open, they're getting the ball. Unfortunately, the Cowboys kept trying to run the offense completely through Dez Bryant. And Dez Bryant has not been a guy who separates in forever. He's always got somebody draped on him, which means you've got very small windows to throw to. I'm not saying that Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the NFL, but you have to use the strengths that he has. He is fantastic on the move. You do naked bootlegs. You move the pocket around. You do run pass options. Those are using his strengths to these speedy wide receivers. Having to get Dez Bryant in a tight back over the shoulder fade over and over and over again was not using the strengths that you have for Dak Prescott. And if you look at 2016, when Dez wasn't there, part of the reason why it was successful was he was finding the open guy. He was hitting Cole Beasley in the slot, in stride, and he was able to mix the ball around. And the more you can take that ball and make it a mystery of where it's going, be it a run play, be it somebody in the slot, somebody deep, whatever, the tougher it is for defenses. And that's the problem with last year was everybody figured us out. We were one-dimensional, and Dez Bryant couldn't get separation. And Dak Prescott did not play as well as he did the year before. So collectively, all of these things piled up and made the Cowboys not as good as they were the year before. You can try and blame it all on Dak. Yeah, Dak is partially to blame. But it's also the offensive line. It's also Zeke Elliott being suspended. It's also the fact that you had Jalen Smith on one leg and Sean Lee was out. The fact that you changed over all of your defensive backs and the rookies couldn't get on the field till really the middle of the season. All of these things contributed to 9-7. And that's going to be the last thing that I'm going to say on this tonight. I'm going to go back and actually review this and see how well it sounds and try and tweak it a little bit. But we will be live streaming tomorrow night, our last live stream of the off season. Oh my God, Michael! The off season is almost over. You realize a week from Wednesday we are headed for Oxnard. Chris Golden, thank you very much. Yeah, we're working on the Carolina game and the Falcon game, definitely the Washington Redskin game, and we're definitely going to do at least one, if not two, in Dallas. So we're going to be the road show.
You know what you have to do though? Make sure that Cliff knows so you can make some of that barbecue.
That's right, Cliff. Oh man, Cliff. Cliff, if you're watching, yeah, definitely, we got to get some of your barbecue. But everybody, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for helping me test out the equipment. So far, so good. We will see you tomorrow night, and let me see if I